Countdown to meeting one. Alrighty. Hey, good morning, everyone. This is the first regular meeting of the Elbert County Board of County Commissioners for the year 2021. As such, it's also our organizational meeting, but we do have regular business to attend to as well. As I've stated many times in the past at most of our meetings, I hope I haven't missed any. We do recognize the governor's mask order is in effect and that there are requirements, restrictions, and exemptions. And if you are masked and coming up for public comment, we do ask that if you feel safe to do so, remove your mask so we can hear you more clearly. As said, there are some exemptions. Those are for making public addresses or speaking for broadcast. We're doing both here today from this table. Again, as the first meeting of the year, as we go through each of the items, I'll have a little discussion, just reorientation to how we run our meetings. So, before we call the roll, I would like to welcome Pastor Paul Parker up to provide us with an invocation and lead us in the pledge. Paul.
Well, I'll keep it on here. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for this new day that you've given us. Thank you that we can go to you first before all of this. And what comes to mind for me, Lord, is just the fact that you tell us in the Bible that you put government and officials in place to serve and to protect. And Lord, that is part of the design that you had in mind and you created. So I just pray for those things to be, as I know they are, on the minds of each one in this room, that, Lord, they are here and they want to serve, they want to do to the best of their ability the gifts that you've given them. And so we just pray for blessings on all in this room. We pray that the meeting goes well, Lord, and that there's wisdom and decision making that really serves and protects and meets the needs of Kiowa and Elbert County as a whole. Lord, then that you would just even preside over the thinking and the difficult things that need to be decided even as we move into 2021. Thank you for this new year. And Lord, may you just show direction and pathways and avenues that need to be taken to really show that we can be together, united, even as a county. Lord, in this time and in this day, there is so much up and down happening, so many changes on a daily and weekly basis. But Lord, I can take peace and rest knowing that you never change. So Lord, I pray that that would be the truth that pervades this year, that you are always the same, that what you say in your word never changes about yourself and even about our lives, Lord, that you speak the truth. And so may we even reference and refer to your truth as we lead in my own vocation, but in the vocations here. May you just bring a presence of peace and a presence of unity into 2021. Pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. And pledge, I believe, to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. And for those that don't know Paul, he represents Majestic View Church. Okay, if we could, the time is now 9:04. Amanda, could you call the roll, please? Here.
Here.
Here. All righty. So, as I said, kind of talk through some of the agenda items as it's the first meeting of the year. First item we generally have is approval of the agenda. As chair, I set the initial agenda. If there are changes, they're taken by motion at a regular meeting. If a special meeting is called, only the items that are on the published agenda can be covered unless all three commissioners are present and there's agreement to change that agenda. So with that, I would accept a motion to approve the, ma'am, you're not recognized, please sit down.
Mr. Chairman, I
Ma'am,
rise on a
please.
point of order on the
Please
agenda.
sit down.
I rise on a point of order on the agenda.
Sit down, ma'am, please.
Your consent agenda, according to Robert's Rules of Order, which I'm sure you're following, either that.
We're in recess. back from recess. All right, so if I may, public meetings only work if everybody's following the rules of public meetings. We have a role to play. Our citizens have a role to play. We respect that. There is a portion in this meeting for public comment. Robert Rules of Order apply to the parties of the meeting that are participants in the meeting, which is the three of us. And if I may, if the county attorney is our parliamentarian, could you confirm that contention that points of order can only be brought by those that are sitting on this side of the table in this meeting?
Yes, that's my understanding of parliamentary procedure. In addition to that, we generally follow Robert's Rules of Order. It's not a strict compliance requirement that we placed on this body. So.
Okay, thank you. Amanda, if you could refresh my memory, did we have a motion given to approve consent, or? Okay.
We haven't even approved the agenda yet.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, with that, I would again. Did we have a motion for approval of that before the meeting was disrupted?
No.
Okay. Well, with that, I would call for a motion to approve the agenda as presented, or any changes that may be
Mr.
desired.
Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Now second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, first item is the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are generally housekeeping items, non-controversial items that are, considered such by this board. As I was going to say prior to the disruption, we have on this agenda revocation of a couple of older resolutions. Again, generally housekeeping matters. One was passed in 1963, essentially stated in 1963 that there were no additional roads needed in this county. Now that's clearly not the case. The county's continued to grow since 1963, and there have been continuing road impacts. The other was the revocation of a policy that, to my knowledge, has only been used once since it was passed in 2015. Complaints and a procedure that is counter to statute, that potentially would require, if following the policy, to release specifics of disciplinary action that could put the county in legal jeopardy. It does not mean that if revoking it, we don't hear complaints. We've heard complaints and commendations regularly for 4 years without that policy ever being invoked. So with that, I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second, and I just like to make one comment about the roads. The population back in 1963 was half or less than what it is now. So the whole idea that we would need more roads, and even our 2008 transportation plan included significant number of roads that haven't even been built yet. So we need to get our resolutions, our regulations compatible with all of the information that we have. I think I seconded it.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion items carry.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sherry Hewlett, Elbert County Treasurer and Public Trustee. Just wanted to let you know, tax notices I anticipate will be mailed mid to end of next week. The proofs are in my inbox as we speak, so I'm going to get those proofed today and back off to the printer. I don't foresee any problems with that, so I just wanted the citizens to know to expect those in a couple weeks anyway in their mailboxes. And if they don't receive a notice, to please call our office. We can double check their mailing address and see if it was returned for some weird reason from the post office. So we're always available by phone or email if they don't receive it or if they have a question. So Other than that, Happy New Year, and here's to a better 2021 than 2020. So just wanted to...
Quick question, is there any significant changes from prior year?
No.
Yeah, when does the final go to the printer or?
Well, as soon as I get improved and I sign off, they'll start whipping them out and getting them in the mail, so.
Okay. I know in the past we've used this mailing if there was any specific county important information that we needed to get out.
I'm sorry, say that
I
again?
said in the past we've used that mailing to insert other information that gets
Yes.
to all citizens. So I just asked Sam if we got anything that we feel is really timely that needs to get out. I know there's some vaccination opportunities coming up within the county. Like I said, I don't want to disrupt the timeline.
Yeah, I
of
don't
getting your
know if
mailing
I'd be
out.
able to get them in the
Okay.
tax notices at this point, and I apologize. I probably
No, no.
should have asked first to see if you had.
Yeah, it's been a really disruptive year, so
Yeah.
that's okay.
I didn't even think about vaccinations and all that. I know last year you put the insert in for the, all
I think it was
the,
survey.
so,
Oh,
but look for those in the mail in a couple weeks.
all righty.
Sorry to send you a bill, but it's got to
It's
be
all right.
done.
Bring Mark Denton Reader. Mark comes to us from Teller County, but he's close now, and he's working on development, disaster assistance, and recovery as contact for that. Mark started full the other day. So welcome, Mark, to this organization. The second person is Shelby Messer. Shelby is the new administrative assistant on this floor, and she will be helping us with all things, all the projects we have going up on this floor. So welcome, Shelby.
Nope, good to have both aboard.
The next thing, commissioners, I have is the fact that there may be some awareness of a new program that the Colorado legislature passed called the Small Business Relief Program. And that Small Business Relief Program the county has signed up for that. We will take care of all the restaurants, bars, so that it has limited eligibility, and we're still waiting to hear what our final contract details and our final award amount is. It's based on per capita and based on those county organizations and municipal organizations that sign up. We will be taking care of all restaurants, bars, gyms, and there was one other category. Caterers in the county that are eligible for that program, but the county has signed up, our application has been accepted, and there is under review. So this is a short timeline, so we'll be pushing out information on social media and on our website as we move forward. The last thing I want to mention is that our new website is up. We are about 90% of there. We pushed to get it launched before the end of the year. We're going through that now and reviewing it, so expect changes to be coming to that website in the near future.
Is it more user-friendly than it was prior?
I believe so. That was one of the criteria.
Alrighty. Next item on our agenda is citizen public comment. During this period, this is a period for people who are recognized to provide public input, generally on items that are not on today's agenda. Since COVID began, we've also, again, we're live streaming the meeting. People to either provide comment via email to the clerk to the board, or to request that a call be made to their their home or place of business, wherever they're available to receive a call to make comment. It's not a question and answer period. It's a place to make comment for consideration. If issues or, simple questions might be answered. If there's something that actually requires staff research or coordination, there shouldn't be any expectation that an answer be provided to something that wasn't prepared for the agenda. Amanda, my understanding is we did not wanted to have calls made. Okay. And no specific comment by email. So with that, is there anybody that would like to make public comment? Yes, ma'am. If you could.
Dilla, my address is 446 Meadow Station Circle. I'm offering this comments, which I did email yesterday, to the county commissioners on behalf of several factions in our coalition. First and foremost on everyone's mind is why Elbert County is not enforcing, particularly in regard to the resolution you just passed and Mr. Thayer's comments about roads, why Elbert County is not enforcing its current contract with Jim Marshall and forcing him to build 3 miles of road that were supposed to be completed as per the current development guide agreement between Elbert County and Spring Valley Ranch before the 400th building permit was issued for the Spring Valley Ranch planned unit development. Number 2, a different faction, if Elbert County is rescinding its complaint and commendations policy so citizens have to file formal complaints, with what will you be replacing that policy, or is there a grievance policy of which we are unaware so that citizens can formally pursue such things as enforcement of contracts? So that's related to the first statement. Number 3, for something as consequential as the revocation of a right-of-way policy for the entire county, why weren't citizens notified in perhaps a newspaper article, town hall, or by other means that this was being considered, and why so suddenly with seemingly very little chance for citizens to react, question, or comment? And last, number 4, how does this new right-of-way policy jibe with the commissioner's oft-repeated phrase that private property rights are sacrosanct in Elbert County? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any response or comment?
I'm going to respond to the number 4 item on your list there about the often repeated phrase that private property rights are sacrosanct to Elbert County. I worship at that altar. I believe that private property rights are of great value to each and every citizen in the county. And to usurp that right is something that I would vote against.
Yeah, I'm not sure where rescinding the thing on the section lines and things like that has to do with really taking property rights, because at this point we put in our regulations about developers and they have section lines providing right-of-ways, but we're not in the process of taking property from other people for right-of-ways and things like that. That's up to any developer, as far as I'm concerned, to make any agreements with any landowners. It's not up to the county to be determining that we're taking this property for roads.
Yeah, I'd say just in specifically number 4 again, there isn't a new right-of-way policy. In 1874, when the county was formed, we were granted a presumptive right-of-way of, I believe, 30 feet, 15 feet on either side of every section, township, and range line. In 1963, that resolution stated, I think, and Grant had mentioned earlier, that the commissioners found that we had an adequate road network and were abandoning those rights of way. Clearly, 1963 wasn't the end of road building requirements in this county. Our subdivision regulations, as Rick noted, do require, if you're subdividing up to a section line, that right-of-way be dedicated to the county for potential future roads. as that 1963 resolution played out and space was not reserved for future roadways, what resulted is what we see now in things where you have Stage Run, Pawnee, Cimarron, and Ponderosa Park, big subdivisions that are all crammed in, one right next to the other with no passage through them. The town of Elizabeth is very much hemmed in. They very much like a bypass in some manner to carry traffic around and to parts of the town that's not a state highway. There's just no place to put roadways. What this could lead to, if the 63 resolution stayed in place, and what it has led to, would be the potential for takings of land or exercise of eminent domain. If it got to the point where we absolutely needed a road that had to go through an existing subdivision because there was no space dedicated for future roadways, you do have the potential that people could lose their homes. That's not something I support, and it's not something I foresee us actually ever exercising. But the potential is there if all the ground is allowed to fill in, that eventually you do need a road to carry traffic. And if the only place to put a road is across somebody's home, it's happened other places in this nation. We don't want to see it here. I know there are folks in this county that truly believe in their heart that there's something nefarious in every change, and that's just not true. To fan controversy without asking a question first is a disservice to all citizens. And I would appreciate if people would actually ask questions versus making assumptions. I know that's human nature to kind of assume the worst, and I've said many times, a healthy concern for government action is always good, but it's got to be a healthy one, not just a knee-jerk reaction that every action being taken is a negative action or has some other meaning tied to something else. As for the 400th permit being issued, I believe that was issued during a period when a new DGA-3 was still in effect and prior to a court being turned over. So I can check with staff to confirm that. And again, as we mentioned earlier, rescinding a policy that could cost the county quite a bit in legal fees because it demands providing information that should be held rightfully confidential and in a person's personnel file is not a good policy. Doesn't mean that we won't take complaints, and as I said, this is the first time that I'm aware of, certainly in 4 years, and perhaps since that policy was put in place, that it was exercised. So we'll certainly still take complaints. We'll still address citizens' concerns. I'd ask, there are pieces of it that do make sense in terms of there's forms, etc. And if there's a procedure to put in place, Sam, just to make sure that that still continues, that's fine. But the policy in itself is just statutorily flawed and puts us at legal risk. So with that, is there any other public comment? Ma'am, Susan. Again, if you could just state your name for the record. And your address, yes.
My name is Susan Rudman. I live at 24 Meadow Station Road, Parker, Colorado. I put in a request that items 6 and 7 that we are speaking about, I put in a request to Amanda that she said she forwarded on to you folks a few days ago to ask that those items be moved from the consent agenda to the action, and that hasn't happened. Obviously, that should have happened when all 3 of you have comments to make, especially on number 7. That tells me that you do have things to say about it, and we do have questions. As community members, if we have questions, as you said, they should be answered. And if you're taking out a complaint and condemnation policy, there should be something in place already. You should say, we're going to take this policy out, and this is what we're going to put in place. Maybe folks have been able to give complaints before, but they may be individuals that know the avenues into the county. When I searched on the county website and looked for avenue to make a complaint or a commendation, nothing came up, and I searched in many different ways, nothing came up, even on the new website. So answer the question before you take away what is the answer. Please, talk to us. And you mentioned that you thought that DGA 3, that the 400th rule was when DGA 3 was already in place. DGA 3 has never been in place.
Ma'am, there was a DGA 3 that was approved by this board. It was later challenged in court. The final decision that overturned it was, I believe, in July of this past year, and I think until the time that decision was overruled by the courts, that previous DGA 3 was in effect.
So it's been overturned by the courts, so it's no longer in effect.
Correct.
So the 400th building permit was issued, and the road is not built. Calling it to your attention. Okay, thank you.
Comments? No. Again, I will just comment that, as I said earlier, as chair, I set the initial agenda, and generally at the tail end of our morning meetings, we identify items that we want to see on future agendas and get commissioner and staff input at that point. Changes to the agenda aren't made by the public. I mean, again, I said changes to the agenda are made at this table, not by the public. I did see your request for those items to be taken off. I think we all did. We received Mr. Dilla's comments yesterday. Again, these were not items that, right now, 2 people out of 28,000 in this county had questions. That is not necessarily a trigger to change what's planned for a public business meeting. If a question was asked versus, again, just said, I guess, if a question was asked, we'll try to answer the questions. But there's no need to change a standing agenda that's been published widely because 2 people have concerns. The claim may be they're widespread, but point in fact, 2 people out of nearly 28,000 brought that up as an issue. I think we've discussed them adequately at this point. But with that, do we have any other public comment? Seeing none, I'm closing public comment at this time. Discussion items, impact fee study. Sam, I think this was yours.
Commissioners, this one has been under discussion for some time. I think we're going to be close to the finish line on this one very soon. In fact, we've noticed a public hearing for February 10th to bring this forward, and we'll hear from the contractor. And we will have a final recommendation to approve the resolution. The draft resolution is in the packet. It has the impact fee schedule there also. Staff is now working on the implementation of that because, as you know, we changed from 13 categories of non-residential down to 4, so we're trying to dovetail all those things into that new 4 category. And I think that we should be ready on the 10th of February for that final approval.
Just a quick question. Is one of the things about the 13 categories we've had in the past, quite often something would come in that didn't fit any of those categories specifically, and so you had to kind of move it around to fit. And I'm wondering if you and Christina have found some way to merge these different undescribed things, like wedding venues is a good example.
We have, Commissioner. That's part of the process between now and that February 10th that give us a little extra time to go through and really figure out what the process is going to be for those unique things, how we handle that, and how we handle that consistently from case to case. In our meeting, we discussed going back and taking a look at the last year or so, everything that came through, and making sure that we category, because it seems like we've had a lot of unique things come through in the past year or so. We're also taking a look at some other localities' policies and procedures with how to handle things that are not clear or that mix category 1 and category 2. People are getting very unique in their business structures out there, and we want to make sure we have those accommodations and that all staff have a very clear path forward to provide those impact fees, those full fee schedules, right after their pre-application meeting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that was, I know there's been some staff meetings on actual implementation, so I think as we come as part of the hearing prior to adoption, kind of like whether it's Christina and probably Rory, just to kind of give the thumbs up that we're actually ready to implement something.
Do you want something on the 27th for that, January 27th, or do you want it at the February 10th meeting?
I think we can do that as part of the actual hearing for
Okay.
adoption. So
We'll do that.
that gives a little time and space for them to prepare too. But. Alrighty. Do we have any public comment on this item? Yes, sir. Again, if you could please give your name and address.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. My name is Steve Della, 446 Meadow Station Circle, Parker, Colorado, 80138. You know, I know the impact fees, you got more discussion coming in. I know you've done the study and you're in the process. The question I have, or at least maybe you can't answer it, but maybe it's a thought. When you put an impact fee schedule in place, will that affect everything from that approval date going forward, or do other people get grandfathered in at a lower rate or a different rate, or what's kind of the thought there?
Okay.
Or maybe you can't comment, I don't know.
Okay.
But that's my only question. Thank you for.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, and there has been discussion of this because the impact fee study that came back did not, in some cases it increased on the residential side, but it lowered some of the impacts on the commercial side. What we had asked during workshops is that the resolution that adopts it at least goes back a full quarter. If there's anybody that had paid something higher than had been supported at the time the study was conducted, that there be a mechanism for them to request a return of those fees. But generally they're applied as, they're the baseline. They are the fee if no other decision is made going forward. Obviously with some larger developments, there's negotiations. If there's construction of infrastructure in kind, there may be a differing set of fees applied, but overall that kind of illustrates what the impact of the monetary impact on the county is and how to recoup it over time.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, you had a little bit left on your 3 minutes, but
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Do I need my name again and all that?
No.
Okay. I guess what I was thinking is, I know what you said there was that when we have development, sometimes we have to negotiate, and sometimes because of the size of developments, the impact fee may not be exactly what's on the books. I can understand that, but my background is accounting, so I understand the present value of money. So I hope that you'll take a look at running a present value analysis when you give major discounts to any type of developer versus the current going rate. And when you do that calculation, if you're giving away other things, or if you're taking other things, you run that whole present value analysis to see how good a deal financially it is for the county. Whether you're less roads, higher impact fee, lower impact fee, more roads. I'm just using that as an example.
no,
Thank you.
understood. And I'm pretty sure that since Grant frequently talks about net present value calculations, you'd
Yeah,
like to take
I
this.
know how to do a net present value calculation. I used to be a chief operating officer for a public company, and we did a lot of net present value calculations. But coming back to your comments and the negotiations, you got to understand the state law. And that is that impact fees have to be used basically in the vicinity of whatever that development is. So what happens is, and I can give you a half a dozen examples, is that our attorney and our road and bridge people and things like that, they like to have a fixed cost for the building of the roads and things like that. So quite often in the negotiation is that the developer or whoever's doing the building will have to pay for the roads, for example, or the water system or whatever in total. So those impact fees under the state jurisdiction would be applied to something like that. So then the negotiation is, okay, what is the incremental present value of the stuff that impacts the county in the vicinity of that area? And it doesn't have to be absolutely adjacent, but it has to be something that impacts that area. So the bigger, each one of these and I'm going to defer to Bart here because he's the one that puts the legal documents together. The negotiations going into one of these things, sometimes, what would you say, Bart, takes 2 years? A lengthy period of time. That's a better way to describe it. So it's trying to find the balance, and I like your analogy of the net present value. Of course, you have to decide what interest rate you use, but be that as it may, and the fixed cost. And here's the other dilemma, and this is the reason why we like to enter into the contracts, and again, I'm going to defer to Bart on this, is that the escalation of prices over time. Quite often these things are negotiated, so at phase 1 you have to do this, phase 2 you have to do this, and on and on and on. And I'm just going to use an example pulled out of the air. If today we say it's going to cost $1 million a mile to build and pave a road, 5 years from now that may be $1.2 million or something. And again, I'm just adding on an interest rate there to get there. So coming back to it, your point is well taken. It's the negotiation and the valuation of time. And I'll give you another example, and here's why I like us to negotiate that out up front, is quite often subdevelopments are approved, and I can think of a couple of them that were approved in the 18, 19, at least more than 15 years ago. And one of us, and each of us that have learned how to do the net present calculation and the future valuation and all those kind of things, I'm not smart enough to predict what prices are going to be 12 years from now. So that's the reason why we try and convert it to a fixed outcome. And the other part of that, though, that's kind of a pothole, if you will, is that quite often through different citizens' actions, different developers' actions, different county elected officials, circumstances change. So, and again, I'm going to defer to Bart on this. That sometimes requires that over time there has to be a revisit of some of the agreements because the circumstances have changed. So it basically is a live, ongoing thing that is, and I like your analogy, it's mathematical. But the problem with it is not only is it mathematical for people like you and me, for other people it's emotional. So it's one of those things trying to find the balance. I didn't mean to make a speech, I apologize.
I appreciate your comments.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. All righty.
Commissioner, I have one other comment on the impact fees, and that is that the report that's in the packet actually says final report. It should have said draft final report. We've got some final, just minor wordsmithing and tweaking, so for the February 10th, there'll be a new final impact fee study report.
Okay, yeah.
And the other thing about our impact fee, when was the last one done? 10 years ago?
Several years ago.
Okay.
It's been a while, Commissioner.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit over time that should have been addressed regularly to kind of keep
Yes,
up with
my point.
what's going on. So, I think if there was anything, yeah, I mean, yeah, the rest can wait until we're in hearing. Alrighty, moving on to action items. First item we have is approval of minutes, special meeting from December 21st.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the December 21st, 2020 special meeting minutes as presented and dispense with the reading of those minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table. I'm going to abstain. I wasn't present at that meeting, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Abstain, motion carries. Next item was meeting minutes from the December 23rd regular VOCC meeting.
I'll make a motion, we approve the December 23rd, 2020 minutes and dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve minutes is presented and dispense with reading. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. All right, the next item is our annual organizational meeting and appointments resolution. There's a couple of sub-motions to be made in this, but to open it up, I would accept a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
Well, I'll make a motion, we open the annual BoCC organizational meeting and appointments.
Thank you. Okay, motion and a second to open our organizational meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, as I said, there were a couple of sub-motions to complete the resolution. The first being appointment of the Chair of Board of County Commissioners. I would entertain a motion to nominate Commissioner to serve as Board Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I move that you continue as, Chris Richardson continue as our board chair.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Thank you, I appreciate that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, second item is appointment of a vice chair for the Board of County Commissioners.
I'll make a motion, we appoint Grant Thayer as vice chairman.
I'll second that. Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint Commissioner Grant Thayer as vice chair for the VOCC for 2021. All in favor, please say aye.
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 I guess I got to abstain.
You don't. Okay. Well, with that, 2 ayes, well, the motion carries. So,
Thanks, guys.
yeah, thank you. All righty, so with those 2 items complete, I would accept a motion to adopt full resolution 21 to be determined organizational meeting and 2021 appointments and reappointments.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution with those 2 additions. All in favor? Please
Commissioner,
say-
can I have a little discussion point on
Oh,
this?
sure.
There is one typo in this I wanted to
Oh.
pull to your attention. With respect to the Planning Commission appointments, Van Sands will be serving his 2nd term, expiring December 31st, 2023.
Okay.
And we have 1 vacancy.
And we have a vacancy, yes, sir.
Yeah, and I know we've
And that's,
received,
that's actually in the,
Yes.
in
Right.
the list.
yeah, and we have received applications for that, so. And just to note, I guess while we're here, that there was an addition to what we've used as standard over the several years, and one was the BoCC appointment of the 5-star Restaurant Certification Administrative Committee, which actually is a tremendous group of local restaurateurs and business owners that work very hard to meet state requirements to get their businesses back open so they could safely serve the public and kind of preserve their businesses. So, this tremendous group of people working very hard for their community. So,
Should we have public comment to this?
yeah, certainly, and we'll take public comment on this. Yeah. Ma'am?
Candace Hedilla, 446 Meadow Station Circle. Not a comment, but a question. Who is the floodplain administrator for the county? I didn't see it on the list.
No. What's that? Okay.
The CDS director. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty, so if there's any other public comment? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. That completes our action items. Actually, the next item up on the agenda. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
I'll make a
Amanda.
motion, we close the organizational meeting.
Second.
Okay. For a motion and a second to close the organizational meeting, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next item is board planning, but unless we've got Congressman Vocc, local representative here, is there anything that you wanted to pass on publicly, or if not, okay, I appreciate you attending. Thank you. All righty, board planning, items for the next meeting. Anything?
Well, we'll do the impact fee on the 10th at a public hearing during the regular BoCC meeting. And I don't think I have any other special things between now and then.
Okay.
I don't
You
either.
wanna hear? All right. Yeah, if we could just get an update during discussion on the transportation plan, I think that would be,
We'll do. And you want that on the 27th meeting,
Yeah,
maybe
yes.
January
Yeah.
27th? Okay.
yeah.
Is there any update on COVID stuff?
Yes, it changes daily, Commissioner. If you are talking about the CARES Act projects, I'd like to give an update on that
Yeah.
after the end of the month when we're pulling all the documents now to submit for reimbursement
Okay.
for the end of the year. And so maybe at the February 10th meeting, I can give you a more formal report.
Okay, thank you. All righty. Okay, that'll get us going. So,